All right, fellow merchants, let's talk Century Spice Road. Today, we're going to dive deep into one single powerful rule about your caravan that could completely flip your entire strategy on its head. It's this tiny little detail, but man, it is so impactful. And honestly, it's one of the most common mistakes people make in the game.
So let me just ask you straight up. Are you absolutely positive you're playing the 10 spice limit correctly? Because if there's any doubt, you might be leaving your best, most powerful moves completely on the table.
Okay, here's our game plan. We'll start by busting a really common myth about that spice limit. Then we'll decode what the rulebook actually says. After that, we'll get into the fun stuff, the two competing strategies this rule opens up. Check out a couple of real in-game examples and then wrap it all up to help you totally master your caravan. Right, let's get into the big one, the misunderstanding that trips up so many players. We've all been there, right? Carefully counting our cubes, making sure we never ever go over that magic number 10. The common thinking is that it's a hard cap at all times, but that's just not right. And hey, if you've been playing this way, you are not alone. I mean, check out this comment from a player on Reddit. Once one person in their group figured this rule out, it was like they'd unlocked a cheat code. It totally changed the balance of power at the table.
So here it is, plain and simple. The common mistake is believing that your caravan can never hold more than 10 spices at any point during your turn. And this leads players to pass up these incredible trades and amazing opportunities just because they think, oh, I don't have the space. But as you're about to see, that's not the whole story, not even close.
And now for the big reveal. Let's look at what the rulebook actually says. This isn't some obscure house rule or a weird interpretation. It is written right there in the official text. And understanding this is the key to unlocking a whole new level of strategy.
So the rule is officially called the caravan limit. And yeah, it does say your caravan can hold a maximum of 10 spices. That part's true. But the devil, as they say, is in the details. And in this case, the detail is all about the timing.
And here it is, the proof right from the rulebook itself. At the end of your turn, if you have more spices on your caravan, you must return spices until your upper limit is reached. You see that? The crucial, game-changing phrase is at the end of your turn.
So what does this all mean? Well, it's simple. The 10 spice limit isn't a constant, suffocating cap. It's a check that only happens once, right before you pass your turn. This means you can absolutely 100% go over 10 spices during your turn, so long as you're back down to 10 by the time you're finished. Now, knowing this rule suddenly opens up two very different ways to play the game. You can play it safe, always staying under the limit, or you can embrace the chaos, using that temporary overflow to set up these explosive game-winning turns. Neither is always the right call, but knowing when to use each, that's what makes a great player. And this is where it gets really interesting because you've got these two totally different philosophies. On one side, you have the steady player. They are all about pure efficiency, turn after turn. They would never dream of wasting a single cube by discarding it. It's a reliable, low-risk path. But then you have the limit pusher. This player sees discarding a few yellow spices as a totally acceptable cost for pulling off a massive play or grabbing a game-changing card. It is pure high-risk, high-reward thinking.
Okay, let's make this real with an early game example. You know the situation. A perfect card for your engine shows up, but you're facing that classic problem of not having enough space in your caravan. So picture this. You've got, say, 8 spices. A killer card pops up in the market. You've got the spices to make the trade and get the card, but doing both would put you over 10. A steady player might just sigh and pass, but a limit pusher, they see an opportunity. So here's how you pull it off. First, you play a card that gives you spices, intentionally pushing yourself over that 10-cube limit. For a brief moment, you might have 12, maybe 13 spices. Then, with that temporary surplus, you immediately spend what you need to buy that powerful card you've been eyeing. Finally, at the end of your turn, you just discard any leftover, cheap spices to get back down to 10. Simple. Yeah, you might have to ditch a yellow or a red spice cube at the end, and I know that feels wasteful, but think about the trade-off. It's massive. You've just locked down a core piece of your engine that is going to pay you back for the entire rest of the game. That is a huge strategic win. Okay, now let's fast forward. How does this same idea work in the late game when the stakes are way higher? You're not just building an engine anymore. You are in a flat-out race to the finish line, and every single point matters.
So, you see it? A big, beautiful 20-point card is just sitting there. You have just enough spices to grab it. But buying it will leave your caravan almost completely empty. So, do you take the points now and risk it all?
And this is the real danger, which the channel No Wonders points out in a great strategy video. If you cash out all your spices, your powerful engine of trade cards suddenly becomes useless. You're forced to spend your next few turns just playing those basic collect spice cards to get moving again. It can be a massive loss of tempo.
So the trade-off is crystal clear. The gain is huge, a fat stack of points that might even end the game, but the risks are serious. Your engine stalls out, and that can be devastating. So the most important question you have to ask yourself is this: if I make this move right now, can somebody else end the game before I have a chance to get back on my feet?
You know, just understanding this one little rule about your caravan limit, it completely transforms the game. It stops being a simple resource puzzle and becomes this dynamic dance of timing, risk, and seizing opportunities.
So, if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. Good players know the 10 spice limit. Great players understand the timing of that limit. It's not about the number itself, it's about when that number actually matters. And that's where all the deep, juicy strategy comes from.
So that leaves us with one final question for your next game night. Now that you're in on the secret, how's it going to change your approach? Are you going to be the steady, efficient merchant who never wastes a single cube? Or are you going to become that opportunistic limit pusher, the one who's willing to risk it all for that one perfect turn? The choice, my friend, is yours.